Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. I am super excited. The gang, the team is all here. We are coming together on tonight. This is gonna be like we're in So You Want to Buy a House boot camp. And so I'm excited about that. I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Ariel. A part of the NexGen team. I am super grateful for that. And so we're going to be having an amazing candid conversation on tonight about buying a house. And so what better time than now? So we're going to have it's going to be absolutely amazing. So first, I want to be able to let everyone say hello. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you are liking, commenting. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat. We have our moderator that is going to be watching the comments for us. Ask questions. We're going to have a great dialogue. So make sure you have shared this with somebody because you know that they want to buy a house and they keep talking about it. But we're like, we're going to give you the information for it. So real quick and right quick, we're going to give to my right. We have Auntie Dana. Come on and say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody.
I love it. Then we have the awesome Danielle. Say hello to the people. Oh, she's on me.
Hi, people.
I love it. I love it. Then we have, listen, though he is outnumbered, he already knows he has some amazing stuff. Let's give it up. Say hello, Damon.
Hey, how everybody doing?
All
Glad to
right.
be here.
And last but not least, come on, Danielle, tell the people, hey.
Hi, everyone.
Listen, y'all, they are absolutely amazing. I am so grateful for each and every one of them. They are awesome. And so I'm ready to get this conversation started. And like I said, if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comment section and we'll be sure to be able to answer them to the best of their ability, which I know they are amazing and smart and talented. So they're going to be able to answer it for you. All right, y'all. So let's get started. And again, thank you to all of our sponsors and as well as the rest of the team for tonight. We are super grateful. All right, so we're gonna kick it off. And there have been some questions that have been proposed for our amazing co-hosts that are on here tonight, and they are going to give us all of the deets. And so I get a chance to start. I know that we have some homeowners on here, and as well as some real estate agents. So you want to make sure you have your ears open and your notepad and your pen out. All right, Damon, we're going to start with you. And so I know that homes come in different shapes and sizes. There are traditional homes, there are condominiums, there are townhouses, duplexes, the list can go on. So be able to fill our audience in on what the difference is between a traditional site built, manufactured, modular, or a mobile home. What is the difference? Because I'm over here as a millennial. I want to buy a house. Fill me in. What is the difference?
Okay, no problem at all. I'll start out with start at the bottom with the not so much the bottom, but mobile homes. So mobile homes are pretty much exactly what they say. They can get up and go at any time. So mobile homes, they even though they are manufactured, but they're considered anything built before 1976 is considered to be a mobile home. 1976, HUD decided to put some rules and special codes and modifications and different standards in there. So after 1976, they became manufactured homes. And then you also have next up is modular homes. Modular homes are completely built in a warehouse in a factory, and they are brought out to the site and pretty much put together like a puzzle. And then you have your traditional stick built homes where everything is brought to the site, all the wood, all the materials, everything brought to the site and cut and measured and pretty much customized right there on the site. So that's kind of a quick breakdown on those four.
Wow. Woo, Come on, I absolutely love it. That is so so good. And so, we like I said, between real estate agents as well as homeowners on this panel, I want this to be an amazing bounce back conversation. So, if y'all feel like, "Ooh, that's my question, I want to answer it," please don't feel scared. Go ahead and answer the question. So, the next one is it better to rent or buy? Is it better to rent or buy?
This is Dana. It pretty much depends on the individual. There's some factors that would come into play. If a person doesn't plan to stay in an area for very long, it may be cost prohibitive for them to purchase a home in that particular area. Now, at the same time, consideration would be taken into consideration as far as the rent is concerned. Usually, rent agreements are signed every year, so there is a chance that that rent could go up. So the other side that you want to look at is when you're dealing with rentals, if anything needs to be fixed, changed out, there's someone that you can call, and that's included in the rental payment. So when you're purchasing a home, the home you buy is yours. Um, Unless if you have a mortgage, we'll talk about that later. But if anything needs to be fixed or adjusted or anything like that, that would be the responsibility of you, the homeowner. So it basically comes down to can you afford it? What's your circumstances at that particular time?
That is good, good, good. OMG, y'all. This is so good. I hope y'all have y'all notepads, like for real. I'm definitely going back and writing all these things down. So, if knowing that is better, whether we're renting or buying, how do I know if I can even afford to buy a home? How do I even know? Like I'm saying, hey, I want to be able to start this process, but how will I even know? Damon, Auntie, anybody, y'all, listen, help a sister out. Fill me in.
I'll pass that ball to you, Damon.
Not a problem. So that I always say it depends on the person. Everybody's situation is different. From everybody's start point is different. But I always try to say, look at your budget, look at what you currently can afford and can't afford. Start with your credit score, and another big one is your debt to income ratio. That's what all loan officers are looking at. Can you actually afford a mortgage payment? So from there, I would definitely say start off with get a realtor first, of course. I'm always going to suggest that. First, get a realtor. And they'll guide you through that entire process. And usually, first thing we do is send you to a loan officer so they can start that mortgage application. That loan officer is going to do, of course, check your credit, and they're going to evaluate your whole situation and pretty much take you from there. Say, there's probably not a good time. Your debt to income ratio is probably too high, or they can also tell you what the next step is to start to fix some things too. So I'm definitely going to always say that's probably you're going to hear me say that a lot to get a realtor first because I am a realtor, but always get a realtor first and they can definitely guide you through that situation. But look at your budget, look at your income, and see what you can start budgeting for and afford.
Is some amazing. That's so so good. All right. So with that, and the saying, hey, I can be able to afford a home, or maybe not right now. I need to be able to save up a little bit more money. If you're saying, oh, I'm almost there, how much should I put down on a house, and what are closing costs exactly? So I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes to the house. I want to be able to do that. How much should I put down? And what are closing costs?
Um, uh, I would suggest that you put down as much as you can to include paying for the house. And the reason I say that is that would reduce the costs on the back end. So let's say, for example, the house is, let me use $250,000. Well, there's going to be some things that you're going to have to pay in addition to that $250,000. So the rule of thumb is usually 20%, but as much as you can. And then keeping in mind that you should set aside some money for maintenance of the house. So whether if you bought a house that's new that has a warranty with it, or you bought a house that's older that may require maintenance later down the line, that would be my recommendation.
That's really really good. That's really really good. So in that, do I have to get a mortgage to buy a house? And so what in answering that, if I do or I don't, you guys will be able to help me out with that. And as well as what is an escrow? Because this is and those of you guys that are listening to this amazing panel of awesome people, uh it's like I'm a fish out of water. And so in wanting to buy a house, these are the questions that you are going to need to know. They're like giving you the playbook, y'all, of being able to know all of the right information, the right questions to ask. So this is so good. But back to the question, do I have to get a mortgage to buy a home? I just heard the word mortgage. And so do I have to get a mortgage to buy a house? And what is escrow exactly?
I would say no, you don't. You
Okay.
don't have to get a mortgage. Mortgage is usually the finance company that would put a lien. They're actually paying the money for your house for you, and they put a lien against it. So, in addition to the $250,000 house that I was talking to you about, the cost of the house, you also are responsible, especially if you have a lender, you're responsible for the insurance. Now, there's a couple of insurance, and I know that Damon will probably talk about it. One is homeowners insurance, and one is what they call PMI. But I'm going to talk about the homeowners insurance that the lenders would require you to have. In addition to that, you're responsible for the taxes. So if you have a lender, what they usually do, in addition to the principal and interest for that house, they have what they call escrow. And escrow is the money that they set aside to pay the taxes and insurance on your behalf. So when they're talking about escrow, they're talking about the insurance and, of course, the PMI if that's required, and also the taxes. And I'll turn it over to Damon.
That is 100% right. I mean, that's a very good explanation of it. You don't have to have a mortgage. If some people have cash like that, I wish I was one of them. But for us folks, we just need to. It would be through a loan, and like I said, there's 4 parts to your mortgage payment. You paying your interest, you paying your principal, you paying your PMI, which is your insurance, and you're paying taxes. All that is in that one monthly lump sum that you're paying. Taxes come out yearly. You get a bill for it, and you'll see the bill, but your company is actually holding that money to pay it on an annual basis. So you really don't have to worry about it. But all that is in that one mortgage payment.
This is OMG. This is getting good. This is getting good. So, what is the best way to buy a house? And then what is the worst way to buy a house? We always know that there are pros and cons to anything. And so what is maybe a good thing or a bad thing? And saying, hey, I want to buy a house. What's the best way and what's the worst way?
Okay. I would say that the best way would be, this is just my opinion, would be if you had the money to pay cash. The closing, and I know you'll probably ask us about that later on, but the closing will be all of 15 minutes, and the papers are like, it's a few sheets of paper. The worst way, in my opinion, is if someone brings you to the corner, especially your finance people, and they start talking to you about PMI. If they start talking to you about private mortgage insurance, that's the worst way, in my opinion. Damon?
For me, I would definitely say, like we talked about earlier, go ahead and decide whether you want to go down that road. Decide if you want to, your end game being a homeowner. Calculate how much you can afford. Go ahead and start saving for your down payment. Get pre-approved for a mortgage. Um, the big one I'm keep talking about. Get yourself a good realtor. Begin house hunting. Make a offering on the home. Go through your inspection, the appraisal, repairs, final walkthrough, and close on your new home.
All right, all right. This is y'all. I have my notepad out. All right. I am excited. Now I have a question because this is something that I don't know, and maybe for our listeners, they might not know either. But we're all learning together. This is a learning moment. So, what is an NMLS and how is it important?
I'll let you take that one, Dave.
So on that, the NLMS is mostly used by licensed loan officers. It's the nationwide multi-licensing system, and it's mostly with nationwide mortgage licensing system for loan officers.
And how that's important is that whenever you're calling a financial institution and they're talking to you about a mortgage loan, the very first thing that should come out of their mouth, besides their name, is their nationwide multi-state licensing system and registry number. And that is how you track when they tell you something. So when you call and ask a question, they're going to say, "My name is Dana, and my MNLS number is XYZ." Make sure you write that number down.
Okay, y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here. All right. What is a pre-approval important? So we made the decision. We're going to get the amazing realtors that are on this screen. They are going to go ahead and make this thing happen for us. And we're making a choice. We're going to get a home. Why is my pre-approval important?
Well, I think the pre-approval is important because it gives the buyer the confidence to know what would be the type of house or the cost of the house they would be eligible for. It basically is the front work because when you're getting a pre-approval, you're getting all your paperwork together to find out if your debt, like Damon was talking about, the debt to income ratio to make sure that you're not buying more house than you can afford. Now, keeping in mind, whatever you're approved for is not the goal. So if you're approved for 300,000, that doesn't mean you have to get a $300,000 house. That just means that if you have a house that's appraised for 300,000, then the loan financial institution is more than willing to uh, underwrite that particular purchase. And I know that a lot of realtors would prefer to deal with people who have a pre-approval. It makes things go a whole lot more smoothly. Damon, since you're a
Absolutely.
realtor,
Absolutely. Yes, it does. That pre-approval, like Dana said, it gives us as realtors, we know your max. We know what not to go over. We know exactly what to show you within your price range. It helps out. It cuts out a lot of time. It doesn't waste anybody's time. At the same time, we can cut down and try to funnel all the properties you're looking for, what would be good for you and what wouldn't be good for you also. And I get asked also a lot of times, what's the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval? Which is a good question also. So pre-qualification is just you check the block on a few things that loan officer is asking for. Probably you have a job, you've been at your job for a couple of years, you have a bank account, you have probably a couple other things. So you check the block on those things. That's your pre-qualification. Pre-approval means they have checked your credit and they have dug a little bit deeper in the details to be able to give you that range and say you're pre-approved for this amount.
Awesome. That's really good. That is really good. I will want to know now. I want to know after I done went ahead and about the pre-approval. Um, will they run my credit, y'all? Are they gonna run my credit? Are they gonna make sure that I am good to go? What is gonna happen?
Yes, as a matter of fact, what Damon was talking about, they are only going to run your credit for the pre-approval. So a lot of times, I think when I had mine done, they charged me for that, but it was actually built. They actually gave it back to me once I purchased the house. So yes, they will run your credit if you have a lender. If you don't have a lender, they will not run your credit.
Okay. If you don't have a lender, they're going to run your credit. Okay. Well, with that, then they're gonna run my credit. I'm gonna know if I'm gonna be pre-approved. I've now known the best way to be able to buy a house. I'm going to need a realtor. Damon just said that, listen, if anything, I'm going to need a realtor. So fill me in of what the role of a realtor is. And then how will I go about finding the right one that's going to fit all the needs that, I need met. What is a realtor exactly? And how can I be able to find the best one?
So on that, with that question, realtors, what we do mainly do is help clients purchase, rent, or sell properties. We're the advisor through the whole process. I know I usually tell my clients with me, far as me, I'm not you are still in control. You're still the final decision maker. I'm just facilitating the entire process. I'm your advisor through the whole process. My job is put all the options on the table and let you choose which one and which one is best for you according to your situation. So a realtor is a trusted advisor throughout that whole process. And how to find the right one, you may have to go through a couple. I would say somebody who definitely listens, who you're comfortable with, answers all your questions, and probably the biggest one is patient.
Alrighty. And speaking of realtor, I'm going to take this moment as a quick commercial break to be able to say thank you to our amazing partners. Y'all, we still have some amazing questions to go, but we want to take this moment to say thank you to our partners of the Next Generation Wealth, now Wealth Building. And so thank you to ATEF Fit, Edward. Thank you to Dreams to Reality Contracting Services, which is Andre Richardson and Bobby Cruz. Thank you to the Heirs Boutique, which is me. Thank you to our Millennial Mogul Consultants, to Nikki's Event Planning, to Organize You Now, to we're talking about realty, to Miss D Brown Realtor. Y'all see her pretty face on the screen, of Exit Landmark Realty. She is a realtor. Wink, wink. Also, we have another awesome realtor, Mr. Damon Howell. You just heard him, of Carolina One Real Estate in South Carolina. Also, we have Robinson and Associates, international business consultants, and last but not least, we have Shine Inspiration, which is Miss Lori Ray. So, thank you again to our amazing partners of the Next Gen team. We truly value all that you guys are to us, and I'm super grateful for you. So, thank y'all for that moment of our commercial break. We are back. If you are just joining us, I'm glad that you are here. If you're watching the replay, make sure you share this with someone. We're back talking about so you want to buy a house. And y'all, they are given the most amazing nuggets of wisdom of being able to say, hey, I want to purchase a home, and these are the steps that I need to be able to do it. So getting back into our awesome moment that we have real quick, Danielle, I want to know, because listen, we're in the same boat. We're in the we want to buy a house stage. And so as a millennial, what are you thinking about this conversation? Like, I know it's so good to me, but just any words, because they're giving some nuggets. Anything you can think of to be able to let fill the people in as we are millennials, to be able to encourage them to buy a house.
Yes, the information given was really, really good so far. I'm going to be taking plenty of notes as I'm starting my journey. My question that I have specifically as I've been researching is, like I live in Texas, and as of right now, the past year, especially, a lot of businesses have moved down here. So there's also been an influx of people moving down here. So it's definitely more of a buyer's market than a seller's market. So my concern is, as I'm working this year to get myself there going, should I wait until 2022 with possibly a seller's market? Is it still going to get even higher and higher? There's trends in every industry, but due to unique circumstances that are going on, what will be the best options? I don't want to wait too late and it gets even higher. I'm like, well, you want it too early? I have questions about that.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I will tell you, when I went around and looking to buy houses, my agent said it was a seller's market. When I was looking to sell, then all of a sudden it became a buyer's market. All so what I found is that's why it's very important to find a really good realtor, because the realtor has their finger on the pulse. The good ones do anyway. So it depends, in my opinion, on the area. Because one area may be very good as far as buying, another area may be very good for selling. So that's what I have. Damon?
You said the same thing I was going to start out with. Find yourself a good realtor. Because they will definitely be able to tell
Of
you
course.
exactly what type of market it is in. You said it's a buyer's market?
Yes, here in Texas.
Okay. With it being a buyer's market, something that I can see kind of nationally is the interest rates are starting to climb back up. So my opinion, I would say look at the interest rates, see what the interest rates are right now, and see what they're projected to be within the. Can't really project it, but if you can see a trend as far as it going up, I would definitely say kind of look more into buying now, because early in the year, with COVID and all that stuff, interest rates were down and they are steadily creeping back up. So I would definitely look at that now and try to assess everything off your interest rates.
Yes, I love it. This information is so good. OMG, it's so good. Like, oh my gosh. Yes. So this is good. All right. So speaking of a realtor, you guys are on here. I want to know, how do you pay for the realtor services? Are we writing a check? What are we doing? How does this process go? I am a fish out of water. So how will I pay the realtor? I have the house, I have the whatever. I'm gonna make that bid, make that offer. How now do I pay you, Damon, for what you're for what you're doing?
Well, remember that closing cost? Remember that closing we were talking about?
Okay.
The closing cost. The closing cost includes the realtor's compensation. Damon?
Oh wow.
Yes, it does, absolutely. But also a little bit deeper into that, as a buyer, you're not paying that realtor, even though that realtor is representing you and on your side. You're still, as a buyer, not paying that realtor. That realtor is getting paid through the transaction from the seller.
Wow.
So that's something else to note also.
Wow. Okay. This is such amazing nuggets. I love it. So speaking of paying a realtor for their services, say now I know this would never be the case with Damon or as well as Darnell, because they are amazing realtors and they are awesome at their job. So that's not them. But say if there was a realtor that they weren't doing their job. They really just were not good at all. And I, as the customer, am unhappy. What happens in that case of where I'm unhappy with the realtor's services? What would happen?
Oh, I can say it from a buyer's, well, from someone that uses a realtor service. If you normally what a realtor would do is they would provide their client with an agreement that talks about the relationship that they have. So the relationship with the buyer and the real estate agent. So there is recourse if you're not happy with their services. Now, with Damon and Darnell, I have never had that experience, but I will turn it over to Damon because he probably knows some people that may have run into that situation.
I've definitely heard the stories. Never had it happen to me, but what I also do in all of my agreements with my clients, I put in there a clause that if either one of us is happy, all we have to do is send each other a written notice, and the contract is terminated. Because if we come down to it where we don't agree on something, you no longer want to work with me, I no longer want to work with you, I don't want to hold each other up. So it's something as simple as an email, and we are both out of that contract. That's how I do it. Because there's no sense of hanging on if, you know, each other don't agree and don't want to work with each other no more. I'm ready to go to the next client, and I'm sure you're ready to find another realtor. So that's how I do it. Everybody's kind of different though.
To be fair, if you're working with a realtor and they're not doing what they're supposed to do or what you think they're supposed to do, I think communicating that early instead of later is the best way to do it. They do work for you. So if they're not doing something that, or they're doing something that you have a question about or something you have a challenge with, bring that to their attention right away because there's nothing more frustrating than a realtor that's driving all over the country. I'm kind of being facetious, but they're driving all over the city trying to find you a property that they think you want, and that's not there's no meeting of the minds. So I think it would be if you find a realtor and there's going to be a challenge, you let them know sooner than later.
Absolutely. Communication solves all that. It definitely does. There may be some disagreements here and there, but like Dana just said, communication, expectations, setting expectations, all that stuff in the beginning, it definitely works.
Yes, yes, yes. Y'all hear that? Set your expectations. All right. That's listen. We're talking about buying a house, but that's a whole word right there. Set your expectations of what you say. This is what I want. So you gonna get what you want. All right, y'all. So in that, I now say I want to buy a house. This is what we're gonna do. Where do I start looking? How do I know what houses are on the market and are for sale? How do I get the ball rolling?
So I know mostly everybody knows Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, and all those. All those are good platforms, but me, I'm gonna go back to it. Find yourself a good realtor first, because, and I say that because all of those different platforms, while they're not up to date as that MLS, which we use as realtors, as far as in that region or that in that area wherever you are, realtors use multi-listing system, and the information is current and up to date, better than Zillow or any of the other ones I just talked about. So I know while like I said, everybody knows Zillow and goes to Zillow is easy find, but some of that information is off or not up to date or just probably a week or two behind. So I'm gonna stick with finding yourself a good realtor first.
Yeah, I definitely want to say that's an amen on that because the realtor gets information before anybody else. That's the first thing. And the other thing is, too, a lot of times I would not go on anyone's property without a realtor.
That is a good tip right there. That is such a good tip. All right. So if anybody is like me that loves to watch HGTV and all these Listen, you get inspired, all right? You get motivated. Now I want to buy a home, and they start talking about something being off the market. Now, what does that mean exactly, that something is off the market?
Off the market is probably just sold or just not up for sale yet. Um, yeah, just either one of those. Just not probably already sold within a short period of time, or just not up for sale currently.
Sometimes that's a good thing, and especially if you're dealing with a area that Danielle may be talking about where people are selling houses, and a lot of times I find that I could get better deals if the house is not on the market yet or off market.
Wow. Okay. Wow. 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 That's some amazing. That's an amazing nugget, guys. So, in that, of the houses that are for sale, the houses that we can be able to see, the houses that my awesome realtor can be able to let me see, how do I get permission, excuse me, to see the houses that are for sale?
I would definitely, that's where a realtor comes into place, because the realtor gets the information to whether if there's an alarm on the house, if there is camera security on the house, if there is a dangerous dog on the premises. So all that information is given to the realtor. So when you're ready to purchase your home, my recommendation is to be lockstep with your realtor.
Absolutely, can't go wrong with a realtor. But I just want to add in there, add in there also how it's changed with COVID-19 and what we've seen now. We've seen a lot more 3D tours too. 3D tours has some that's big now. They're good, but I still always say when you do get the chance, and if you are interested in that property, definitely go see it, because there's nothing like being on ground and walking through the house and actually seeing the house.
That's right. And not only that, Damon, the 3D gets me whether I'm interested or I'm really, really interested. So that's really good. The other thing is that the 3D doesn't tell you what kind of neighbors you have.
Absolutely, and the neighborhood too. Yes.
That is true.
Oh, that's a good point right there. Wow. So with that, I am definitely a visual person. If anybody else is like me, I'm definitely visual. So I probably would let me walk, let me see, let me visualize it. And so in that, how how do I let a seller know that I am interested in purchasing their home? How do I see a house and I'm like, oh, that's it? Do I walk up to their door and be like, I'm about to buy your home? Right from what happens? Okay. How do I let a seller know I want to buy their house?
This is where you're definitely going to have to trust your realtor, because when how you communicate is usually it's realtor to realtor, because the realtors have what we call a fiduciary duty to deal fairly. If you're talking to someone and asking them if they're going to buy their house, they have no duty to treat you well. They have no duty to be honest with you. So I would recommend that you communicate with your realtor that this is the home that you're interested in purchasing. Mr. Damon?
You are 100% right. Also, another thing that I like to do is in the beginning, we was talking about setting the expectations. So in the beginning, once I sit down with my client and we sign that agreement, I'm also going to get into what kind of market we're in. And for instance, I'm gonna use the times we're in right now. We're in a seller's market. So what I'm actually expressing to them and telling them and make sure they understand is being in the seller's market, the market is towards the seller. So the seller has most of the leverage. Not only do they have most of the leverage, but they probably have multiple offers also. So that means you want to come with a good, strong offer. A good, strong offer meaning not always price, not always the highest price is always a good, strong offer, but there are different parts to offer. You can go high on your earnest money, or you can take out all the contingencies, or you can do repair procedures. It all depends on how you structure that actual offer. So it's a lot of different things. It depends on the situation. It depends on the house. It depends on how much the client wants that house, and it depends on whether or not it's multiple offers. So that's kind of a deep question right there for me, anyway, because there's so many parts to it.
Okay, so with that, you just said something with about the what's the word? Earnest money
I,
deposit.
Mm-hmm.
You
I will.
just said that.
I
So
think I can take that one.
okay, help me out, y'all. What is it?
Okay, as a seller, the earnest money deposit, and let's just there's different ways to do this, but basically, an earnest money deposit is your way of communicating to the seller, hey, I'm here, sell me the house, and oh, by the way, I know that if I put in an offer, that you have to take that contract, you have to take that property off the market. So when they take the property off the market, that means that they're not supposed to be dealing with anybody else, just you. So the earnest money deposit is basically saying, hey, I'm in good faith. I want to buy your home. And this is my way of communicating to you that I'm not going to waste your time. And we want to go ahead and purchase this home from you. And now this is the thing. The earnest money deposit is not different, it's not independent from the purchase price of the house. For example, remember that $250,000 house I was telling you about? If you're going to pay, let's say, a $2,000 earnest money deposit, that $2,000 is actually applied to that 200 and that whatever that amount is that you're going to get financed or that you're going to pay. So it's not anything that you're going to lose. It's actually going to be absorbed into your offer. Mr. Damon?
Absolutely. So just a quick example. Let's say you're sitting down as a seller. And like I said, down here in Charleston, we're in a seller's market. So typically for a seller down here, they probably have 5 offers sitting on that table at one time. Let's say all 5 offers are exactly the same as far as contingencies, closing dates, purchase price, and everything, except for one. One person has $5,000 in earnest money. Everybody else only has $1,000 in earnest money. So that's gonna speak volumes to that seller. Okay, he's very serious. He's willing to put down $5,000, which is 4,000 more than everybody else. So that's a way I looked at how earnest money is looked at. Just look at how strong, how badly you want that house. I put it that way too.
Well, the other thing too about the earnest money deposit, even though I told you that it's included in the total price, let's say, and Damon brought up a very good point. Okay, let's say on that $250,000 house, you put down a $5,000 earnest money deposit. That money is actually deposited. So if it takes you 30 to 45 days to close on that house, that $5,000 will not be given back to you until either one, the contract is, excuse me, the house is purchased, and that's actually included in, so they'll just subtract the $5,000 off,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the contingencies had not been met. And I think that's a good question too. Is Damon, what is a contingency, or what could be a contingency?
Contingencies are clauses you put in the contract that need to be met before you actually purchase. Like one big contingency is if you have to sell your home before buying that home.
And
That's a
that's
contingency.
something that should
Yeah.
be disclosed. That's something that the seller would need to know, because that would depend on how much time. Let's say they were going to buy a home. So
Mm-hmm.
if the buyer says, "Hey, I have to have a contingency of 30 to 45 days to sell my house," or if I don't sell my house, I can't buy yours. That's something that the seller would need to know. Um,
Exactly. Everything can be a chain reaction. That buyer may need to sell their home first. That seller may need to, okay, sell this house and then purchase another house. All that can be contingent on that buyer in the beginning selling their home.
So the contingencies would be in the contract so that the seller would know, I'm sorry, in the offer, so that the seller would know, okay, this person gave me a $5,000 earnest money deposit, which is above and beyond what everybody else is doing, but they have a contingency that they have to sell their house. That may or may not that gets the seller's attention as to whether they want to pursue that particular option. So if they pursue that option, they are going to get the $5,000 earnest money deposit, but then they still have to wait until the other house gets sold. So the contingencies that's a good one. The contingencies I've actually looked at was the inspection contingencies, whereas, and that's usually a very short period of time. That's usually like the first 3 to 5 days that the buyer can go and have the house inspected, which I highly, highly recommend. And the other one is the appraisal contingency. And both the inspection and the appraisal contingency is probably going to be a requirement of your lender if you have one.
Absolutely. So on the inspection contingencies down here, we have two types. We have repair procedure and due diligence. And of course, just like everything else down here, one is in favor of the buyer, one is in favor of the seller. The one that's in favor of the seller is the repair procedures. Under repair procedures, the seller is only responsible for 7 things, major thing: structure, electric, water, plumbing, roof, stuff like that, big stuff. So that's one thing that the seller is always looking for, whether or not that buyer chose repair procedure, because that's in their favor. Now, due diligence is in favor of the buyer. The buyer can walk through the house and say, I want everything fixed. If there's a spot in the rug, I want the rug fixed. If there's a hole in the wall, I want the hole in the wall fixed. If the light fixture is crooked, I want that fixed also, because that's in favor of them. But at the same time, that seller doesn't have to accept due diligence procedures also. So that's another contingency. So all that is looked in that offer. These are the things that the seller are looking for in that offer. Probably anything that's in favor of him, make it easier for that seller.
You see why he's on the NexGen team?
Of course, a wealth of information, pun intended, a wealth of information. Before we get into our last couple of questions, because you guys said some things such as offers, such as inspections, things that I want for our viewers to be able to know. Danielle had another question, which I know is going to be amazing. So Danielle, let's hit them with your question.
Okay. My question would be, why should I choose a realtor over a wholesaler? I've been on Zillow.com, and as I'm looking up houses, I've seen that they've been under contract, and wholesaling has been a very popular topic that I've seen. So someone who is a millennial, we always just go online and look. Maybe to some may feel like, well, why go to a realtor? I'll just cut out the middleman and go straight to this wholesaler. What benefits going to a realtor over a wholesaler?
I would consider the wholesaler as the middleman. I'm going to turn that over to Damon.
Very good question. So wholesalers, what they do is they actually they are the middleman, like Dan said. But what they come in, what they do is they will talk to a seller and they will get contractual rights to sell their house, and they will go and take those rights and offer it to an investor. And they kind of it's kind of hard to describe, because I know as far as wholesalers, they don't get into as far as inspections and stuff like that, and stuff that we know as realtors. I just know that they are playing the middleman, and they get paid for that fee as far as the middleman.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Damon, but the other thing is too, realtors get fingerprinted, don't they? And they have laws and rules that they have to abide by that a wholesaler doesn't necessarily have to do.
Yes, we have code of ethics. We have like everything you just said, background checks, everything that we go through, annual training that we do to cater, not really cater to, but to keep the clients safe, to keep the public safe. There's a lot of things that we need to know to make sure the clients are not taken advantage of. That's why we get so much training and we have to go through so much as realtors.
And Danielle brought up a very good point. She was talking about an investor, which is very different from, in my mind, a home buyer. An investor,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Absolutely. Investors are their mindset is different. Their purpose is different. They're probably not going to be living there, so like their purpose, their intent is completely different when they're going into that deal.
And actually, I just saw something come up that the realtor and the wholesaler the wholesaler acts in their interest, which that's what they get paid for, whereas the realtor has to um, work for the buyer's interest.
And that's what I was trying to get at. I didn't want to come out and say it
I,
like that.
I
But
said it.
yeah, absolutely. The wholesaler, they're about their fee. They're going to get their fee. They worried about their fee first, their fee only. They just want that fee so they can move on to the next actual deal. Realtors, we don't really work like that. Our end game, our actual goal at the end of a transaction is for that client to go out and refer them to another client.
Yes, yes, yes. That was an amazing question, Daniel. A great, great question. So, in us, I hope you guys, if you have not shared this with somebody, go ahead and do them a favor, share it, because it will not be that the information was not given. Okay, so this has been amazing within our last few moments that we have together, and I'm so sad because I'm like, I think we need a part two. So if y'all think we need a part two in the comments, go ahead and say yes, because I know they have so much more information to be able to give. But you guys had said some words that kind of jarred my brain, that stuck out to me, as far as talking about offers. What does it mean what does a multiple offer mean? What does it mean, to be able, can I put more than one multiple offer on a house? How will I know my offer is accepted on the house that I put it on? So maybe you guys can be able to shed some light of what an offer is, as well as how will I know if it's accepted, for the house that I want.
That is a very, very good question. Okay. Now, remember that earnest money deposit thing I was telling you about? Well, when you make an offer, let's say that you have 3 houses that you are really, really excited about. If you put an offer on 3 houses, you invariably could end up with 3 houses. So that's why the realtor is so important. So I would recommend picking the one that you like, that you really want to buy, and communicate that with your realtor. The realtor is going to do the paperwork to basically give them the offer. Now, the realtor will give you the information, like as far as lead-based paint that's particular to that house, because there's some information that the seller filled out that has to be given to you. So then all that information will be collected by the realtor, and they would submit your offer to the seller's agent, if they have one. So along with the earnest money deposit, you're going to be signing a contract. So I would be very careful how you submit those offers, because like I said, we don't want you to end up with 3 houses. Mr. Damon?
Hmm. Absolutely right. Can't go around putting offers on homes. A realtor's not going to let you anyway, because you can, if that seller accepts, each one of those sellers accept your offer, then you are contractually obligated to buy all 3 of those homes. So yeah, a realtor's not going to let you get into it like that. But so the answer to that question, no, you cannot put in multiple offers on different homes. Once you put in that, I always say prioritize your list, have a top 3, and go with that top 3. If you get beat out on that first one, you move to the next one.
Okay. Wow. Really quickly, guys, before we get to our last few questions, I do see a question within our comments. Is the wholesaler like builders? For example, Lenar representatives, Leonard, excuse me. Is the wholesaler builders like, or is the wholesaler like builders?
No, not exactly like builders. That wholesaler is, again, I'm gonna go back to the same saying. They're just like a middleman. They are, they have that contractual right to sell that house. So they are just in there to, they're charging a fee to sell that home, pretty much.
Let me see if I could do a scenario. Let's say that I go to someone, Miss Sally, and I say, Miss Sally, I'd like to, buy your house and, sell it, help you get out of that house. So I'll buy it to you from you for $130,000. But I'm going to turn around and find someone that's willing to pay $250,000. That's reasonable. So I'm basically the middle person to kind of broker the deal, if you will. So I find someone that's willing to pay 130,000, and I'm finding someone that's willing to pay $150,000. So that could be just any old body, right?
Correct. And you also have some that say, like you just said, some will say, "Let me buy your house," and some will say, "Well, give me a month to find somebody to buy your house for this price." You see what I'm saying? So they don't even say, "I'm buy your house," but they'll say, "Hey, don't sell your house. Give me 30 days as a wholesaler to find a buyer to purchase your house at $250,000, and I'm gonna charge within that transaction. I'm gonna charge a fee of $5,000." That's
Right.
pretty much the foundation of it.
And then see the thing is that's something that the seller would be interested in, because as you said before, in a closing, the seller is paying the majority of the closing costs.
Correct.
So that's an incentive for them to do that. Okay.
Hmm.
Alrighty, next gen fam. So in us, just being able to, if you guys do have any questions, go ahead within the chat. You can put that now as we are wrapping up. Unfortunately, I know you're sad. I'm sad too. But I want to know, as far as it relates to, we've been talking about inspections, appraisals. Just really quickly, if you could give us a brief of what that is, and then who might pay for either one of those, and then yeah, and then we're gonna get into saying, hey, I want these keys, and how can I be able to get them. So what is the home inspection and appraisal, what that difference is, just in maybe a few short words, and then who pays for it.
Okay. The inspection and the appraisal is done by two different people, and usually that's required by the lender if you have a lender. This is one area I would not skimp on, especially the inspection. There's some inspectors that will charge $125. Usually both of those are paid for by the buyer, and the lender usually includes that in their finance. So the inspector is going to go through and tell you everything that's wrong with the house, the things that you can live with and the things that you probably should not be living with. So again, spending $400 to $500 is definitely worth it, because if you end up purchasing that house belongs to you, and if there's a problem, that's your problem. As far as the appraisal is concerned, that tells you how much the house in that particular time is worth. So if you buy a house that's $250,000 and it appraises for 240,000, the lender probably will only pay 240,000, and you would be responsible for the difference if you really want that house. That also can be a negotiating tool if you have appraisal as the contingency. So, Damon, did I take care of it all?
Yes, you did. Right on point. Only thing I can add to it is usually I tell my clients as far as the inspection, be there if they can be there at the inspection. That way they can ask questions directly to the inspector, and the inspector can tell them right there on the spot what he's looking at, what he sees, and different stuff like that.
Plan on spending the most of the day, depending on the size of the house, because the more they find, the better it is. I'm only speaking as a buyer. The seller does not like that. I'm going to tell you that off the bat.
Absolutely, absolutely. When an inspector gets there, he's going to do his job. He's going to find something. So inspections usually run from 250 to over $500. It all depends on the size of the house, whether or not it's on a slab or a crawl space, and just the overall square footage of the house too. So all that depends too.
I'm sorry, Damon. I was giving you DMV prices.
It all depends.
I love it. I love it. This is you guys, and even I was about to ask it's maybe like two other questions, but Auntie, you just literally asked the question with you answered the question. So I do want to know that with we're saying, hey, who negotiates with the seller on my behalf? I would say from my learning just right now, I'm learning in here. Now, is it A, the realtor who is negotiating on my behalf? And then we just talked about like that final walkthrough, Damon. You just talked about that, about being there in that moment, not just wanting to, take their word for it, but physically being there. So thank you for answering that. But I would want to know that who negotiates with the seller? Is it, am I right or am I wrong? Is it the realtor or no?
It pains me to say this. I'm a professional negotiator, but when it hurts me to say this, but it's the realtor that does the negotiating. Now, the home inspection is different from the final walkthrough. So just so you
Okay.
know, but it's the realtor. I'm sorry, it's the realtor, and they better be good.
I'm gonna say you're right. I'm gonna also go a little bit step further. It's also that buyer. It's a team thing. I like to keep saying it's a team thing because we definitely take input from the client and we just put it in terms of real estate and negotiate it that way. So if the buyer or the client wants this, and that, we translate that into the other realtor. Hey, this is what the client is looking for. This is what the buyer wants. This is what they've seen, and negotiate from there.
Okay. So within in that negotiation, and I don't, me still learning. We're learning over here of that. Is the final walkthrough important because we don't want any mishaps. We don't want, something after you purchase a home that all of a sudden, the sink doesn't work, or something that can come about after you have gone through this entire process. Is that the reason why final walkthroughs are important?
Well, the reason why final walkthroughs are important, it depends on what you negotiated. If you negotiated things to be done, then the final walkthrough is just to make sure that that was done. You can see the house as many times as you need to. You just have to coordinate with the seller's realtor, because if it was something big and major that needs to be done, I would not wait until the day before closing to do that walkthrough. I would do that when you had enough time to make sure that everything you asked to be done is done. So that's why it's important. And the realtor walks you around there.
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely. With me, my process is that realtor on the other side will send me different pictures and receipts of the repairs of what we asked for to be repaired. They'll send me all that information, when it got repaired, how it looks before, how it looks after, and then after everything is done, I'll take my client on a walkthrough then just to see that all the repairs are done. And then also right before closing, day before closing or day of closing, it all depends. We'll do the final walkthrough to make sure everything is still good.
All right. Listen, I'm ready to walk through. I am ready to walk through. So really quickly, as far as it relates to we're talking about as far as the home is concerned, who is responsible for transferring those utilities, those things that are, like who does that?
The buyer, and if the realtor is worth their salt, they will have that paperwork ready for them so they can transfer those utilities over. It depends on the I know, for example, Baltimore City and Baltimore State, they have different, well, excuse me, Baltimore City and Baltimore County, they have two different utilities that they deal with. So if somebody's coming from out of state, the realtor, that's why the realtor is so important. They'll have the paperwork to say, okay, this is the house you're getting. We're going to close on these dates, on this date. These are the utilities you need to have transferred over to your name.
Okay.
Right. Right. And as far as me, everything is done in different stages. I usually wait till after the appraisal because the appraisal is usually the last thing that may or may not have to be negotiated. But after that appraisal is done, said and final, and everything is good from there, there's really not too much else that can stop that sale. So I usually wait till after the appraisal is done and say, then now, okay, here's your time and dates. Make sure you change over the utilities by these dates right here, which is probably closing day. I usually tell them on closing day, have the utilities switched over in your name.
Okay. That's oh, this is such good information. I hope y'all are writing this down and sharing this with a friend. All right, y'all. In literally our final few moments together. I want to know the following question. What is a home warranty and when should I get it? And then if in fact we're all there, we have the keys, what happens at closing? So I presented three questions. What is a home warranty? If or when should I get it? And then what happens? We just were talking about closing. What happens when you are closing?
Okay, a home warranty is usually something you buyers get for like older homes that are out of warranty. That's something that can be negotiated in. I'm not sure how they do it in South Carolina, Damon, but that's a negotiable item, and that usually makes the buyer feel good. And that's something that if the realtor recommends based on the fact that you're a new homeowner and the age and the condition of the house.
For me, I always tell my clients, or I always try to negotiate in at least a 1 year warranty purchased by the seller.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that you didn't see that the inspection didn't catch, or it would be something that happens. Like if Damon says for a year, it happens in the 10th or 11th month. That is something that would save you a lot of money.
All right, all right. I love it. Y'all are hilarious in these comments. I am enjoying this. So in turn, we answered that. What happens at closing? And then if in turn, even at closing, so we said, hey, we're at closing, we're about to sign on the dotted line. What happens if you find problems? Like you said yes, you sign, we're good to go, but then you find problems. So what happens at closing, and then what happens if you find any problems?
Okay, if you at closing, you're basically signing your life away. But so what you're doing is you're signing all of the documents. The reason why the closing date is so important is because the tax is computed based on that date. So if you have to move the date, then there's numbers that have to be redone, and it makes the finance company very annoyed. So basically, you're just signing documents. The seller's signing documents, and the buyer is signing documents. Sometimes they're sitting at the table at the same time, sometimes not. It all depends. And I'm looking at it as a gift. Right. But anyway, so that's when the keys are exchanged. So that's when the buyer, you're going to get the key. Now, if you get the key and you go to your new home and you find problems, guess who you better call? Tyrone. No, if you have a home warranty, that's if Damon negotiated a home warranty for you, then you'll have the documentation of who to call. But that is now your home. Damon?
Yes, absolutely. Once you sign everything at closing, it is your home, your responsibility. But like I said, for me, I always try to negotiate in there that 1 year warranty, which covers majority of everything.
Now, that doesn't apply to new construction. I need to add that in there because that comes with a separate that comes with a warranty. So if it's new construction, you should have a warranty with that.
Yeah, there's always new homes are 10 years, 10 year warranty.
Okay, well then there you go. Thank you, Damon.
Mhm.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I can't believe you just have had 30 questions. Yes, 30 questions for free, y'all, with some absolutely amazing people that this is their career. Like, I'm telling you, that is amazing. And so we are so grateful. I'm gonna give a chance for the team to be able to say their last maybe their tip or maybe their encouragement as it relates to before we leave. But I hope you are subscribed to the channel. You have been on here. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and click that button right now because you just got over an hour of information that you for free, y'all. Listen, you should subscribe just for that and that alone. But we are here creating moments in every area of our lives. We're learning in every area of our lives to be to create generational wealth. Excuse me. And so I'm excited about that. It has been an amazing, amazing time. So I'm going to give each one of our amazing panelists just a moment, a few seconds to be able to say any last words. And as well as if you guys have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments. We'll be more than happy to come back to them at a later date in another video. I would love it. All right, Auntie Dana, Danielle, and Damon, any last words?
For me, I would say appreciate the invite. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks to everybody for coming out. And if you need me, call me.
Love it.
This is Dana. Thank you for joining us, Ariel. Thank you so much for hosting. Um, I think as a boomer, one of the things that I remember my millennial moguls telling me is that they feel as though they needed the information. So if they need the information, we need to give it to them to the best of our ability. So I appreciate you hosting this, and I hope this helps someone or everyone.
Yes, 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 yes. Danielle?
Yes, I want to thank everyone on the panel for their knowledge. Even for me, as I'm going through this journey, I realize I'm evaluating things on my plan. Information about the interest rate was very timely, very good for me to know. So now I'm thinking about maybe moving from 2022 to this year. So we definitely need to do a part two. It's very informational, and thank y'all for providing your information.
Yes, and also thank you to our moderator, Danielle, in the comments, been holding the fort down. Shout out to her. So, yes, thank you to each one of you guys. It has been amazing. And if I can leave you with one thing, to know that you can absolutely do this. It might seem overwhelming. It might seem like, oh my goodness, how long is this process going to take? But I am for certain and for sure that you can absolutely do this. I will be praying with and for you that you will have and find the right realtor and you will get this process to be able to be started, to get started. We're going to be going through this journey together. And you never know what you might see on the channel. You might see Danielle or myself, vlogging our journey of home ownership. You never know. And so I'm excited about the next for us. So again, we thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you are not, like I said, not only subscribe, but as well as are watching and listening to the amazing videos from Monday to Friday. We have content for you, and as well as those that you know, to be able to be encouraged, inspired, motivated, and as well as build generational wealth. So from our family to yours at the NexGen team, we want to tell you thank you, and we can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a great night, everyone. Be blessed.
Bye, everyone.